Hello, my name's Alison Faith, and serenaded by the sound of torrential rain on the roof, I'm going to offer a short, grounding, calming fluid practice today that hopefully will help to keep us centered in our truth during what feel like quite turbulent and uncertain times. Primarily this is aimed at people who are practicing at home in the moment, who have perhaps decided to self-isolate, not able to come to classes. So I'm quite deliberately not demonstrating with props today. But of course, as always, please listen to your body, please look after yourselves, and if there's anything that I'm suggesting that doesn't feel good, then don't do it, modify. I'll try and give some modifications, but for sure listen to your own bodies. So we're starting with legs crossed, and starting with the right leg crossed in front of the left leg, and have a little wriggle around and get comfortable. Now for some of us, for sure, sitting on a little bit of height will support us, particularly if our knees are much higher than our hips. If your knees are giving you discomfort, then please feel free to come out of the shape. Maybe a loose Buddha-Konasana would work, or even kneeling. But for those of you that it feels appropriate, feel free to come forwards, place the palms of the hands onto the ground, softly sway a little bit from side to side, maybe release the head and neck. Start to lengthen the breath and allow yourself to feel a sense of grounded support. As you breathe fully, emphasize your exhales. And as you emphasize your exhales, notice how that starts to calm the nervous system. Very interestingly, as we've started the practice and started to ground, the turbulence of the rain has stopped, almost as if to acknowledge why we're here. Walking the hands back, coming to an upright position. Take the hands behind you and just switch the cross of the legs. Once again, for some of us, this is a relatively accessible, comfortable position. For others, your knees will feel like they're much higher. You might even have difficulty keeping your spine straight here. So if that is you, a little bit of height is good, or even uncrossing the legs and coming to a loose Buddha-Konasana. And whether your left shin is in front of your right or you're in a Buddha-Konasana, you can release forwards again. So either way is good. Softening, soothing, and arriving here at your practice. Walking the hands back, coming up to vertical. Uncross the legs, and then with the hands by the sides, just begin to paddle the knees, releasing that. And then coming to sitting with the spine straight, the palms down by the sides. Now for most of us, with the knees bent, even if the knees are a little bit wide, you should be able to hopefully feel that sensation of your spine feeling long and free and open. Depending on the length of your arms, your palms may reach the ground, your fingertips may reach the ground. What I want us to do is to start to straighten the legs, but only to the point at which you can sustain a straight spine. So if as you start to straighten your legs, your spine starts to round, then bend the knees again. If you can straighten them all the way, that's great. If you can't, that's equally great. And then either sitting for another few breaths here with a straight spine, or hinging at the hips and coming forwards into a very gentle forward bend here. And as you come forward, notice whether your shoulders are hunching up, whether you're grasping or reaching with your arms to come forwards, and roll your shoulders back, soften your elbows, and let that stretch in the hamstrings feel beneficial, that is not forced. Maybe roll your head from one side to the other just to make sure you're not adding tension into your head and neck. And then coming back up to sitting, we'll swing the legs round and come to all fours. Bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, spreading the fingers, knees underneath the hips, or a little bit behind the hips. And then starting to move with the breath, inhaling, arching your spine. Exhaling, rounding. Inhale, arch. And exhale, round. And then continuing with this movement, inhaling, arching the spine. Exhaling, rounding the spine. And letting the priority be the length of the breath, so that the movement is following the breath, and the breath is full and long and smooth. Come back to neutral with your spine, and notice the difference between neutral and passive. So if I'm being really passive, my shoulders hike up around my ears, my spine dips, and I'm not doing anything, but I'm really not in a very healthy position. Neutral, I'm pressing with my palms, my shoulders are wide, my tailbone and my crown are extending away from each other, which means that my core is slightly engaged. It will feel like you're slightly drawing your pubic bone up towards your navel, but not so much as it's clenched. From there, take a breath in, and as you breathe out, tuck your toes underneath, you'll push back, and you'll explore the first and only downward dog of this practice. So this practice is a fluid practice, but not too taxing, so hopefully fairly accessible to most active people. So feel the stretch in downward facing dog. I'm not going to talk at great length about the physical alignment of this particular shape, just pressing back with the hands, lifting the tailbone, releasing the heels towards the ground. And then as you're ready, you'll walk your feet towards your hands. And maybe if you can't bring your feet all the way to the hands will walk back to the feet. With the knees soft, let the spine pour out of the pelvis like water in a forward bend. And then, keeping the knees soft, start to turn the tailbone down and let the spine slowly stack as you come to a standing position. Bring the hands onto the hips, and just for a moment, feel the difference between tucking the tailbone and sticking it out. So it's almost as if you're doing those two cat-cow movements whilst you're standing. And then in your own body, find a place where the tailbone feels like it's descending towards the center of the earth. The crown of the head feels like it's extending up to infinity. Your core is a little bit switched on, which means that the pubic bone is drawing up a little bit towards the navel without over tucking. And that's your neutral place. Stepping to the front of your mat, we'll start to move through some salutations, breathing in, the arms coming above the head. Breathing out, diving forwards, palms to the earth. Lengthen your spine as you inhale, hands come to the shins. As you breathe out, step the right leg back, take the right knee to the ground. Inhale, palms together, thumbs to the center of the forehead. Exhale, sit back onto the heels, finding child's pose. Inhale, rising up to all fours. And then as you exhale, lowering the hips, lifting the heart. And here I just want to pause for a moment and check in with technique. So I don't want you to lower your hips so much that you compress your lumbar spine and your shoulders hoik up around your ears. What I'm looking for is lowering the hips, but keeping a little bit of core engagement so that your lower back feels supported. Your pubic bone is drawing up towards your navel. Your shoulders are rolling back and away from your ears. Your elbows are hugging your sides and are slightly bent. Take a breath in, come on up to all fours. And as you exhale, sitting back onto the heels again, child's pose. Inhale, rise your way up, high kneeling. Exhale, step your right foot forward, bring your fingertips to the ground. Inhale, palms together, thumbs to the center of the forehead. Exhale, stepping the back foot to the front foot, coming to a forward bend. Inhale, lengthen your spine, hands can be on shins again, knees can be soft. Exhale, fold. Breathing in, coming all the way to standing, arms above the head. And exhale, palms down the midline. Same on the left side. Inhale, the arms above the head. Exhale, diving forwards, folding. Inhale, lengthen your spine, lift your heart, roll the shoulders back. Exhale, the left leg goes back, left knee comes down to the ground. Nice and softly, nice and gently. Inhale, palms together, thumbs to the center of the forehead. Exhale, fingertips to the ground, sitting back onto the heels, child's pose. Inhale, coming up to all fours. And then exhale, lowering the hips, lifting the heart. Inhale, coming back up to all fours. Exhale, sitting back onto the heels, child's pose. Rise to high kneeling on the inhale. And as you breathe out, the left foot comes forward, fingertips to the ground. Inhale, palms together, thumbs to the center of the forehead. Exhale, step the back foot to meet the front foot, fold. Inhale, hands on shins or to the ground, lengthen your spine, lift your heart. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rising to standing. And exhale, hands down the midline. Once more each side. Inhale, arms above the head. Exhale, fold forward, palms to the earth. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, right leg goes back, right knee softly onto the ground. Inhale, palms together, thumbs to the center of the forehead. Heart lifts, tailbone descends. Exhale, step back, child's pose. Inhale, coming up to all fours. And exhale, lower the hips, lift the heart. Inhale, all fours. And exhale, child's pose. High kneeling on the inhale. Exhale, right foot steps forward, fingertips come to the ground. Lifting palms together, thumbs to the center of the forehead. Inhale. Exhale, stepping your back foot to meet your front foot, forward fold. Lengthen your spine, breathe in. Release your spine, breathe out. Inhale, rise to standing. And exhale, release. Last side. Breathing in, arms coming above the head. Breathing out, diving forward, palms to the earth. Lift your heart as you inhale. Exhale, left leg goes back, left knee to the ground. Make these movements smooth. Inhale, palms together, thumbs to the center of the forehead. Exhale, fingertips to the ground, stepping back, child's pose. Rising to all fours, inhale. And then on the exhale, lower hips, lift the heart. Inhale, coming up to all fours. And exhale, sitting on the heels, child's pose. Rise to high kneeling, inhale. Exhale, left leg comes forward, fingertips to the ground. Inhale, palms together, thumbs to the center of the forehead. And exhale, step your back foot to meet your front foot, forward fold. Lift the heart on the inhale. Release on the exhale. And then inhale, come all the way up to standing. And exhale, hands down the midline. Pause. Feel the palms pressing against each other. Feel the fingertips pressing against each other. Release control of your breath and allow yourself to just absorb the practice so far. And then releasing the hands, we're just going to play with a little bit of a balance. So I'm going to step off of my mat because I find it a little easier to balance on the ground than on the sponginess of my mat. And take your hands onto your hips, and again just find that neutral place. So you're neither sticking your backside out or tucking your tailbone. Your hips are neither skewed to the right or skewed to the left. And you find some security, some integrity in the alignment there. And the alignment in our practice, the ability to have integrity in our own alignment in our practice, helps us when we're off the mat. It helps us when things external to us are happening and we are neither too open and too vulnerable and too flexible, nor are we too close or too clenched against it, but we're able to stand in whatever our individual truth might be with a little bit of movement, of softness, whilst retaining that integrity. So with that in mind, starting to shift your weight onto your left leg, and we're going to move to tree pose. Your tree pose might involve keeping your right toes on the ground. That might be where is good for you today. It might involve bringing the foot towards the ankle, or maybe you'll bring the foot so that it comes in towards the groin. Don't try to be somewhere that you're not. Know that the depth of your practice has nothing to do with the shape that you're making with your body. And breathe deeply here, either palms together, or you can lift the arms above the head, or you can do whatever you like really, but stay centered and grounded, even if you're wobbling. And then releasing that side. And taking a moment, right hand over heart, left hand over belly, close the eyes and allow the system to just release the residue of that balancing pose. And then shift to the other side. So I start again with my hands on my hips, and I often just have a little wriggle just to feel the range of motion of my pelvis in order to restore integrity there. I can very often tend to overarch my lower back, overflex. So I need to be mindful of that. And then you just come into the shape on the other side, aiming to do the same as you did on the first side, but that may not be possible. We're not actually symmetrical. And even if you're wobbling, even if you're falling, keeping the breath and the attitude as balanced and calm as possible. And then we're releasing that side and pausing again, just allowing the body to soak up the residue, not just of the physical practice, but of the ripples of sensation mentally. For me, a little bit of relief that I didn't fall over. And then we'll take the legs a little tiny bit wider than the hips, or the feet a little bit wider than the hips. And begin to squat. Now for some of us, squatting will take you about here. You're aiming for the knees to come out in the trajectory of the toes. For some, you might be able to come a little bit deeper. Just a couple of breaths here. Any sensation of discomfort in the knees, and please release this shape and come to sitting. And then we will sit, bringing the soles of the feet together and just releasing the forehead towards the knees and pausing. Lengthen the spine for a moment, and with the soles of the feet on the ground again, let the spine come nice and straight and tall. Wrap your right arm around your shins. Take your left hand behind you. Lift your heart and then start to twist. Keep the spine vertical. And then come back to center and slowly switch to the other side. I like to take a breath in to lengthen my spine, and then a breath out to slowly allow the twist to evolve. Pause, breathe in again, lengthen. Breathe out again, deepen. then one more time, hands down by the sides, extending the legs forwards any amount, but keeping the spine as straight as possible. This time we'll lift the arms and reach forwards for Paschimottanasana. So for me, I have quite open hamstrings and extra long arms, so I'm able to reach beyond my feet and release forwards. But that might not be your experience of the shape, so please, please feel free to either sit on something to elevate the hips, which might allow you to straighten the legs a little bit more easily, or alternatively, I'm actually quite encouraging of people to bend the knees a little bit so that your spine can be tall. So if you bend your knees, have the knees still facing the ceiling, have the feet still flexed, lengthen here, and then just come forwards even just a little bit. You'll still be feeling a stretch of your hamstrings, but your spine will be free and long. You're not pulling, forcing, grasping. Whichever version you've taken, coming on up now, start to roll your spine onto the ground, draw your knees in towards you, make some circles of the knees in one direction, and then in the other direction. And begin to release your body for Shavasana. Traditionally, the legs are a little wider than the hips. The arms are a little wider than the torso. The shoulders are rolling down and away from your ears. The back and the front of your neck are equally long. Your lower back is arched away from the ground, but not so much that it feels pinched or uncomfortable. And if your lumbar spine, your lower back, is offering any discomfort or sensation that's unwanted here, bring the soles of your feet onto the ground, a little bit wider than your hips, and drop the knees towards you. You might lift your bum, curl your tailbone under, and then release. Close your eyes, relax your jaw, and just soften into doing nothing. I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for as long as you can. But for those of you that need to move on with your lives, start to make some gentle movements, fingers, toes, wrists, ankles. Draw your knees in towards you, and then roll over onto your right side. And from there, join me in a comfortable upright sitting position. Palms are together, bowing the head to the wisdom of the heart. Acknowledge everything that you've done for your mind and your body. Acknowledge everything that your mind and body does for you in every moment of every day. And acknowledge everything that you are in every moment of every day. thank you for joining me. Stay well. Namaste.